Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me for Let's Chat. My name is Shayla Reeves, and today we're going to be talking to a dynamic group of women about a topic that I think really hits close to home for a lot of people. The last year probably looks a little bit different than maybe you thought that this year would be. Looking back in the earlier part of 2020, well, for some folks, this has been a time of change and transition. And we're going to be talking about what it's like to take that plunge, changing careers, feeling the fear, doing it anyway, whether it's been a pandemic change or even if you changed prior to the pandemic. Change in itself can take courage. So we're going to talk about that, and hopefully pieces of the stories that you hear today will connect and inspire you as well along your journey. I'm going to give folks another minute and a half to join us. I'll play a quick video and then we'll launch right into the conversation.
I always like to create an environment where people feel comfortable to ask questions. You don't always know what you don't know. You may not have it all figured out today, and that's okay. Taking one step at a time, those glimmers become a consistent light. It all finally begins to click. Each and every moment that you experience is shaping the person you are in this life to be.
Sometimes our pain points go all the way back to childhood.
What if I allowed myself to imagine a life that was more spacious and expansive than the one I'm living?
What if I don't have to live the same way that everyone else is living?
When you are authentic, your energy changes and the people around you change. It's just like doors just start opening. You're like, well, wait, how did this happen? How did this happen? How did this happen? You're showing up completely different.
And often it does require healing and going in some uncomfortable spaces before we can truly flourish.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me for Let's Chat. My name is Shayla Reeves, and today I'm going to go ahead and bring up our guests for today's conversation. We're going to be talking about changing careers, feeling the fear, and doing it anyway. First, I'll go ahead and bring up Hillary KLINE. Hillary is a senior PR specialist, beauty and lifestyle TV expert, and also a touring model. Congratulations to you. And yes, that's awesome. And then we have FABIANA joining us here. FABIANA is an entrepreneur and brain health coach. We have Coach Don Johnson here, life and mindset coach. And last but not least, we have the wonderful TAMEKA E. Jones, the Esteem founder and CEO, who we can all catch coming up on Small Business Revolution. Congratulations to you. So exciting. Thank you all for joining me for this conversation today. I'll go ahead and start with you, TAMEKA. Can you tell me, when it comes to changing careers, feeling the fear, doing it anyway, where did that journey start for you?
That journey started for me during COVID because I was furloughed and I was at home in fear of not being able to go back and do makeovers. But then it started being the week after week after week. And I was thinking to myself, what is going to happen? And because I was watching the news and trying to get other people's opinions about things, from politicians to clergy. I wanted to know, what were we doing? Nobody had a good answer and a sound answer. So that fear of not knowing what was going to happen made me come up with a plan B, and that was to start my own lipstick line.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that seems incredibly daunting, because sometimes people will have these great ideas for things that they want to do, but it takes courage to start. When you made the decision, this is what I'm going to do, how scared were you?
I was more afraid of what would happen if I didn't do it. So it wasn't really a fear, because I could have done the lipstick line and worked somewhere else, right? So that really wasn't a fear to start it. What was the fear was, what's going to happen to me emotionally if I don't get out of the situation and that I was in, as far as being traumatized every day. I think starting the lipstick line helped me to stay a little sane during a time that was extremely chaotic. And so, I mean, I just felt like I didn't have another choice. I did not just come up with the idea to start during COVID. I had pre-planned it. I just didn't have the time and the energy and I couldn't put forth the effort to do it. But during COVID, I had all of that time, energy, effort, and money. So it was like the best time to actually take the leap.
And you did it.
That's
and
awesome.
Coach Dawn, I mean, sometimes it really takes just having, saying, I'm not going to sit on this anymore. I'm going to make up my mind that this is what I want to do. And you just have to start.
Well, I wish mine was that simple, right? I needed to literally, corporate America literally pushed me out the door. And so that was my sign, finally my sign. So it was a blessing to be released from almost 23 years of corporate America. And instead of, and this was in 2018, and something was different about this time. I didn't go, I'm a Cancer, so I didn't go in my shell. I didn't go in the woe is me in the fetal position. I felt really empowered and in my knowing that there's something more for me. And here is your time to explore it, figure it out. But more importantly, what actually bubbled to the top for me was that I needed to heal. I had experienced so much trauma as a Black woman in the majority of white spaces in almost 23 years of corporate America. There was definitely trauma that I experienced over that time, and actually being removed from that space allowed me to heal. I didn't know, when you're in something and you're moving and you're doing the thing, you don't really realize, how this is really impacting your health, your mental health, right? And so being removed from that, it's like I saw, it literally was like sunshine. It's like there was like a path that started to open up. And it really was my divine timing to figure out what else is there for me to do. And so that's how my journey began. So it wasn't this like, oh, okay, I just know there's something else. No, I had to get shoved, to get smacked around a little bit. And then, and it's like, okay, now it's time to move in these gifts. And so not being in that grind of corporate America allowed for my true nature to start to rise up, and being a life coach, really being a guide to help people with their stuff, what they're divinely guided to do, with what they are stuck on, their limiting beliefs, all the things. And I had actually realized, after taking a true pause from corporate America, that this is really what I'm good at. I've been counseling and mediating and teaching and mentoring and coaching people my entire life. And so this was my golden opportunity to be free of corporate America, to dig in to those gifts and everything. So basically now the healing journey that I took myself on for my why is really the same thing I now do with my clients.
That's awesome. And what you just talked about, that can be really scary. Like, some people can be let go and if they're still fighting and pushing to be in that space and they're not mentally in that space of I'm going to accept this and try to grow in a different way, it's like you're trying to shove yourself into a corner and you don't realize like what I'm in is actually the blessing in some ways.
Correct.
Yeah. Hillary, what has your journey been?
Yeah, so I have worked in PR for about 7.5 years. And prior to that, I was working in television as a news producer in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Go Packers. I was in TV for about 5 years. And the kind of tipping point for me was in TV world, you have contracts, and the TV station at the time wanted to renew my contract for 2 years. And I was just at this place where I'm like, I feel like I need to do something different. I need better hours, a little bit more work-life balance. I need my weekends back. And so I made the transition to move from Green Bay to Minneapolis and start my career in PR. And I remember at the time, our assignment desk editor said, "Oh, you're going to the dark side." I'm like, oh, okay. There's still things I miss about working in TV, but I feel like my time in TV just really taught me valuable lessons that I carried over into PR. So yeah, that's kind of been my journey.
That's awesome. And really the central piece of all of it, it really takes courage to live what feels like the most authentic you, what feels like the space that you're most supposed to be in. There may not always be a clear path that you can take on that journey, but it takes courage to take that journey and see where it leads. Fabiana, tell us a little bit about your journey too.
Yes, I was also like Coach Dawn. I was in the corporate world. I was in the corporate world for 30 years, 20 of those years in the financial markets. I was at Bloomberg for 15 years, had an MBA. My life was, corporate career. And then divorce happened, where I learned so many lessons and could see the world in a different way. And because of the divorce, I ended up having to look for a job to make more money than what I was making. And I ended up finding a job that was paying really well. And they was bought by a private equity company, and they decided to let me go because I was not doing what they asked me to do, because I wanted to do something different. And it was a very humbling experience. And of course, when I left, I was, okay, now I have to go back to the corporate world. And then you go back into that interview process, and it's like 6 months of like 6, 7 interviews. And then last minute, oh, sorry, not you, shows the other person. And you do it again, and you do it again. And so people that are going through this right now, they don't understand. But you know what? It's because it's not for you. Because when I was in the middle of this process, my sister told me, "You are so good at inspiring and empowering women. Why don't you create an Instagram account so you can do that in the meantime?" And that's where everything kind of started. I started a few Fabulous by Fabiana Instagram accounts just to inspire and empower women. And then one of my followers from London sent me a message, "Oh, Fabiana, you're literally changing my life, the way like you message, your energy, blah, blah, blah. Are you a life coach?" And I was like, let me look into that. And I did all the research, found the right place to do my certification in Chicago, printed my business cards, did not worry about my fight or flight system with the fear of, oh my God, this is something new, because that's exactly what happened. I became a brain health coach last year, certified, where I use the neuroscience understanding of what happens in our brain in connection to the thoughts, feelings, and emotions, and how does that drive behavior. And when you're talking about change, that's exactly what happens. The brain changes all the time. That's neuroplasticity, right? But every time there's a change, and if there's any fear connected to it, it will activate your fight or flight system. And if you don't use your prefrontal cortex, which is your cognitive side of the brain, to actually think and plan and do something, you're going to continue following your survival mode. And I followed my prefrontal cortex. I did what I really wanted to do. It feels right, and I'm in love in transforming people's lives. So Coach Dawn knows exactly what that means. It is just the most beautiful work that I could ever. The money's not the same from the financial markets, but I don't care.
Don't
I
care.
care about transforming people's lives, honestly.
That's fantastic. And in so many ways, whatever you focus on grows. And even when you try to force yourself into other things, the thing that maybe your heart is set on that you're like
Yep.
pushing to the side, it still finds a way to show up. Or
It does.
you get signs and things in your everyday life that show you there's something to this path. And then eventually, you know, maybe you kind of listen to that a little more along the way. And, you know, hopefully you kind of say, well, what happens if I do a little bit more of this thing that I enjoy? Or what happens if I try this something new? And whatever you focus on grows. You start attracting more people into your life that respond to the truest version of who you are. TAMEKA, what would you say the journey that you are on has taught you about yourself?
It's taught me, what I'm learning right now is to think more with my head than thinking with my heart. For me, because I'm a Cancer also, I'm very feely. I feel everything. I love people so much and so deeply, but that has been a detriment to me in some ways. And so as I removed myself away from being around people because of COVID, I started learning more about who I was and what I needed for myself. And once I created boundaries with people, all of a sudden, all these ideas start coming. All of the plan for my life started coming together for me to see it. It was always coming together. I just couldn't see it because I just was so emotional and it was blocking my blessings. And so I just think that that's what I've been learning right now is just that what's in here, it matters. It's okay to go with the thought that you have. Like I had struggles because I never thought that what I thought was good enough. Like I was always looking for someone to say that my thought was okay. And I was always looking for permission. And I think that as I turned 46, I stopped asking permission because I realized nobody knows me like I do. And so I stopped looking for those things. And I'm telling you, this past 2 years, year and a half has been amazing for me inwardly, so that outwardly I can give to women who need change or need to feel beautiful, just one tube at a time. It seems so small that it's a lipstick, but in reality, it's a relationship with people. That is what I'm trying to build, and I'm trying to mend broken hearts with lipstick.
I love that. That is, do you feel that part of that journey has required you to like go inward and find comfort in I am enough and what I'm offering is enough, what I do is enough, who I am is enough?
Yes. I mean, honestly, I could have stopped going to school with my aesthetic certification, right? I learned skincare and makeup, but because other people around me, the expectation was for me to get a bachelor's degree, right? I went and got that, and I don't even use it as much as I use my trade school degree. But because I was young and impressionable and wanting to please, TAMEKA was a people pleaser. So I kept trying to please everyone else, and I was dissatisfied with my own life. So now I've come into this place where, wow, TAMEKA, this is you. You're showing up authentically, and I'm being received authentically. And I love what's happening. So it's been a great change, but it's been a very needed change for me so that I can be able to be there for other people. But it starts with me.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And congratulations for doing that work that you have to do internally. And it takes time sometimes to really make peace with relationships that change when you do have to set boundaries and acknowledge that maybe the folks in your life can't be in your life in the way that they have existed up until that point. Maybe the way that you're growing, they can't grow with you, or the way that you're moving, they don't know how to be supportive of that space. And it doesn't mean that you leave the journey that you're on. It just means maybe you're shedding a relationship, or maybe this relationship can't go where you're growing. Coach Dawn, talk a little bit about, for you, the journey that you're on. What has that journey taught you about yourself?
Number one, and TAMEKA, I'm just going to course correct one little thing. Emotions, our emotions, it's not that they get away from us. It's that we have to get connected to them and embrace them, because there's so much power in that, in our emotions. We have to just trust and listen. That's really, we get to that point of trusting what you know. And that's real. Once I got to that secret sauce that, oh, I got this. And so I had a little funny hashtag called I be knowing shit. I be knowing stuff. And I have to trust what I know. And people are drawn to that energy. And it's beyond confidence, and it's beyond like the outward shell. It is what I exude. It is my light that recognizes the light in you. It's leading with love. Everything I do is a reflection of who I have decided to be. I have decided to be a guide. I've decided to use my gifts for good. I've decided to heal. And I've decided that I am going to take as many beautiful people on this transformational healing journey as desired to come along. Well, let's go. And so once you lean into what you're divinely, why are you here? What's my why? And you get truly connected to that, you are unstoppable. Everything comes to you. Your thoughts. I don't have to chase. I don't have to grind. I don't have to hustle. I don't have to do all these hard things. It's just I have to be and acknowledge that I have everything I need to do this work, to inspire and to lead with love and to bring others into this heart space and into this work. And 2020 and COVID exposed the mental health challenges of this world, and it became a huge opportunity for healing. And so just showing up in places to especially heal in the Black and Brown community where COVID and devastation was hitting us at a much higher rate, I felt compelled to make sure I show up and volunteer my time. So it wasn't necessarily about, I got to go and make this money. I got to go and show up for myself, but also show up for my community, and becoming that person who was an expert or an inspired thought leader in this space of healing and wellness. That's who I decided I'm going to be. And I showed up as her everywhere I went. And people started to embrace, because I had to believe I'm dope ass Coach Dawn. I had to believe first. I had to have my confidence. I had to value my services and what I offer the world. And once that starts to catch fire and you get connected and hone in that beautiful energy of self, it's just such a beautiful path. And so it may sound kind of like willy-nilly and, oh my God, these spiritual people are just, do they work at all? Yes, we work. But it's a work that is, more vibrationally. It's more in how we show up in our authenticity. That is what attracts people to, how did you get here? How did you heal? So I basically take all my clients on my journey, but it is self-guided by those individuals and what they need, right? But my knowing of my journey allows for other people to want to tune into that. Like, I want that light. I want to feel that way. I want to love myself more.
It's just like that quote, your vibe attracts your tribe. The courage that you have to show up as you are, that the people that are your people, your
people.
crew, the folks that resonate with
Yes.
what you're giving, they will find you. And you don't even always have to go looking for them. That energy just attracts those folks to your space. For
Correct.
you, yes. And for you, Hillary, the same question for you. What has the journey that you're on taught you about yourself?
So I think the number one thing that I've sort of learned is learning to trust myself more. Working in TV, is fresh out of college, it's like, oh my gosh, this imposter syndrome of, should I even be here? Why are they letting me write a newscast? What if I screw up? What if I fail? But that job taught me so much about myself and how to have tough skin and just sort of believe in myself.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of those skills have translated throughout my journey. And two, just like being okay with changing course. I mean, I went to college. I thought I was going to be this doctor. I was going to be a pediatrician and work with kids. And I remember coming home from college, failing a chemistry test and crying on my dorm room floor. And I'm like, this is not my path. Like, this is not for me. And so being able to accept that you need to pivot, that's okay. I was never one of those people where I'm just like, knowing from a young age, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to be. Like, just be okay with realizing that your journey may change and it doesn't have to make sense to anyone else but yourself.
That's right.
I love that. And really nobody is just one thing. Like, I think so much of how we live, we always say, like, I've got to be a journalist. I've got to do this. And we ignore all these other vibrant pieces of who we are as a person. And in pursuit of this one thing. And then it's like, but you're leaving all these great things. Like, what are you doing? I had to have that conversation with myself. And this is just coming from someone who spent at least a nice chunk of my career looking at television to show me who I was. And I finally had to get to a place where I can now say I'm a creative, deep thinker who loves to laugh and help other people see the best of who they are. I just happen to work in a newsroom, and news is what I do. It's not who I am. Mm-hmm. And so understanding that there is a difference between those two, that really has helped, I guess, in how I work in news, but then how I also live my life. And it affects how you show up with those around you and those that you're bringing into your space. Fabiana, for you, what has the journey that you're on taught you about yourself?
So many things, from the simple things of, I can deal with technology. I thought I was bad at technology. And I built my own website. I self-published my book, and I did everything through technology. And I could do it. But the biggest thing for me, I think, was understanding that we all have a blueprint in life. You know, you grow up with that blueprint. I'm gonna go to college. I'm gonna get married. I'm gonna find a job. Have kids. Go to, buy a house in the lake or whatever it is, the blueprint that you have in life. And when you don't follow that blueprint, you will unconsciously always push away, and you will feel uncomfortable. And I realized that you have full power to change that blueprint whenever you want. So my blueprint, number one that I changed was the divorce. I grew up in a Catholic family, and divorce for me was like, I don't want to be divorced. I don't want my daughter to be a kid of a divorced family. So it was my blueprint. That's not going to happen. So I hung on for a while until everything ended up happening. And after it happened, I was like, this is not what I thought it would be. And I learned that you can actually create your blueprint. I now remarried. My daughter has 2 families that she loves, and it's, you create your own reality with the way you choose to perceive the world. It's all about, and the neuroscience for me is everything, because it confirms everything, why everything worked out to me so well, and why I came out so positive from my divorce and from everything, is because the way you think And coaches don't always talk about emotion. The word emotion is, scientifically, is that's the reaction, biological reaction in your body to the stimuli in the environment. What you see, hear, touch, taste creates the emotion, like your heart racing, your body, stomach turning or whatever. That, after that, is when your prefrontal cortex will go back to your memory box, to your hippocampus, like what happened in the past that created that same emotion in my body, and then the thought comes. When the thought creates, hormones are released in the brain for a negative or positive thought. Cortisol for negative, serotonin for positive thoughts. When you have the feeling created by these hormones, it drives your behavior. So if I have a thought that this thing is going to happen, whatever, you're going to feel negatively if it's a negative thought, and you're going to behave in a way that you're going to drive you to that path. So rewiring your brain in the sense that you have to change the way you're thinking it sounds simple. It's not, because whatever is hardwired in your brain, principally beliefs from childhood, the patterns that you bring, and Coach Now was talking about the past, that the traumas and everything, they're literally hardwired. The beliefs that TAMEKA was saying, I'm a people pleaser, that is hardwired in your brain. It just does not come out. You can't get rid of it. You can rewire your brain by creating a whole new neural pathway, a whole new belief, and using that constantly so the old one prunes. But if you go back to people pleasing, you're going to go back to that pattern. So it's all about understanding. And that was, for me, the biggest learning about myself, that I have the full power to feel the way I want to feel in my life. We actually all do. It's your choice. So feeling fabulous, which was one of the things that I created, because the name of my business, Feel Fabulous by Fabiana. Feeling fabulous is a matter of choice. You choose. If you're feeling negative, question your thoughts. What is making me feel that way? Because it is a thought that creates the feeling. So what am I thinking that is creating that feeling? And go from there.
Yeah.
And Byron Katie is one woman that I adore. That the psychiatrist that I did my brain health coaching certification, he uses her questions as well. That I always share. I don't even know if I share. I always share every time I can. I share that about your thoughts. You have negative thoughts. Question them. Are they true? How do I feel and how do I react when I have those thoughts? And who would I be without those thoughts? You have to really question them. And I learned, it changed me as a human being, that I know that I will feel negative, because 80% of our thoughts, research shows that 80% are negative, but this is just a reaction of protection from your brain. So you just need to question them, make sure that they're not stupid, and that's what I do. And I feel negative all the time. And we need to feel the feels, let the feelings run through you so they mean something. That's why you need to question it. What does that mean?
Thank you so much, Fabiana. That is so important. Dr. Z, exactly. Thoughts create your feelings. Shay shared, let go, let flow. And hey, fabulous ladies. Hey, Shay, thanks so much for joining us. And Dr. Z, I wanted to ask you, TAMEKA, why was it so important for you to set boundaries in order to grow? And as a result of setting those boundaries, I guess, how do you feel like doing so has helped or pushed you forward and what you're doing?
I needed to set the boundaries so that I could move forward as the woman that I was growing into being. I had a lot of emotional ties to people, and they did not have my best interests at heart. I'll just say that. And so me being the person that I was, although I knew that, I still kept trying to get them to love me, right? So I was stunting my own growth by keep repeating the same cycle over and over and over again. So I just decided like enough is enough. And so I had to say, hey, look, this is how it is. This is how I need for you to treat me. This is how I need for you to love me. If you can't do that, then this is what I'm going to need to do, which is to set up this boundary and maybe not talk to you for a year, maybe 2. Then maybe after that, I can come back and see how this relationship is working or not, and then move forward. When I did that, Shayla, was when all of this weight that was on me fell off. My mind started being clear because I didn't have that negative talk going in my brain. And it wasn't, I don't even think that the people or the persons was purposefully doing it. It's just how they were. And it just didn't fit for me. So I just, once I set the boundary, all of a sudden I was free. And it really felt like a freedom.
Great word.
So
just like
I love that word.
Just like a weight lifted. I want to also add, we've got about 20 minutes left. If you have any comments or anything you want to add, definitely post those below and I can share those with all of the participants. If anything you're hearing resonates, share that in the comments. If anything you hear from anyone resonates and you don't want to share it on here, certainly give them a follow. Everyone's Instagram handles are ticking across the bottom. So certainly give them a follow, support each one of these awesome ladies, and as they continue on their journeys, and hopefully we can all learn and continue to learn and grow from each other even beyond this conversation. In just a moment, we'll drop a link, and if you would like to pop up and join us in the conversation, feel free to do so. If you'd like to leave a comment below, feel free to do that as well. Hillary, I would ask you as well, and when you decided to make a change or transition from traditional television news to working in PR, did you feel like you had to set any boundaries with relationships on that journey, or where did you feel like you had to protect your peace in the process?
Sure. I don't really feel like I had to axe any relationships. I'm still really good friends and keep in touch with a lot of the people I worked in television with. My best friend works there. It's kind of fun to catch up and be like, hey, how's it going over there? And it's still the same old, same old. So that's kind of reassuring of like, okay, I think I made the right choice. But like I said earlier, there's parts of me that misses certain things from television. So when I made the transition, I'm like, you know what, is there still a way that I can keep a little bit of TV in me? So I currently, on top of working in PR, I'm a beauty lifestyle expert on lifestyle shows throughout the country. And so it's been kind of fun because I'm using the PR element of pitching myself and marketing myself and pitching segment ideas and still doing TV stuff, even though before I was behind the camera, now I'm in front of the camera. So that's been kind of a fun transition. I haven't really had to set any boundaries yet. I feel like maybe I should set boundaries with myself sometimes because I'm constantly on my phone and thinking of crazy, wild ideas. And I probably need some time to decompress and stop scrolling. But that's on me. So yeah, it's been quite a journey.
But there's really a freedom in that, don't you think? Like the freedom to create in a way that really doesn't exist. I don't think it exists in a newsroom or in anyone else's workspace. Like I like creating like physical, tangible things. And when I go to a meeting in any newsroom, you can have a great idea in the morning. And if someone doesn't like it, it just doesn't happen. But you can have a great idea for some craft you want to make, go to the craft store, buy all the stuff, make it real by the end of the day, and no one can tell you you can't do that. Right. And there is like a freedom in being able to go on your phone and have that idea and know the only thing stopping it from being realized is me. And, you know, whether or not I'm, you know, choosing to stay on that path and see it through or not continue it and do something else. But there's a freedom in that that you probably can't find in any other path than the one that you're on, which is kind of cool in a way.
Very.
Yeah.
Very.
Don, you want to add to that?
Very cool. And I just, one of my favorite words is freedom. And being an entrepreneur is freeing. I have the opportunity for the very first time in my life I'm sorry, I got a plug in my computer. I'm like, oh, I'm about to die.
You're fine.
For the first time in my life, being free to make my own choices, good or bad, to be completely in control, of my life. It's just the beauty of freedom in this entrepreneurial lane as a Black woman who was always labeled as something outside of me or perceived in such a way, like the angry or the aggressive, and just all the things that stifled me in corporate America. But I had to feed my family. I had to do, this is what I did, the traditional path. You go to college, you get a corporate job, and you die there, right? And so to be removed from that space and to watch myself literally transform into this butterfly, the person that I was basically told that I could never be. I was never good enough in corporate America ever, even though I would mentor and guide and coach all the young women that would come through, and young men that would come through the organization. And I would watch them all get promoted ahead of me. And I'm like, what is going on? I'm only good enough to do these things, but I wasn't seen as a value to the organization. And that does a mind, that messes with you. That messes with your self-esteem. That messes with what you believe you could be capable of doing. And then when you jump out of that into this free world of co-creating this purpose and this thing that I have birthed over the last several years, and thank goodness 2020, COVID was good for me, because it gave me even more of a push and that knowing that mental health and supporting people who are hurting and have this desire to heal, that is my lane. And 2020 really allowed me to hone in on what my true gifts are. And so just in how I've looked at things and the focus of things being positive and things that I can do just allows for that to grow, because I don't doubt myself, because I don't have that heavy negative energy that was on me telling me that I was less than just about every day. So once I removed myself from that space, it's like the sky's the limit. I really do feel there's nothing that I cannot accomplish.
That's awesome. And it's so freeing to be there and to know that, you as you are enough. You're making that choice in life to say, hey, this is what my priorities are going to be. And you're choosing you and what fulfills you. And no longer giving that power away.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I love it. Fabiana, would you like to add?
Yeah, well, I maybe making notes so I remember all the things, because this is very good.
It is.
So boundaries, I see boundaries as being it's the ultimate form of self-love.
Yeah.
If you don't set boundaries, you don't love yourself. So learning how to set boundaries takes you through the path to find self-love. That's, for me, and this is something that I have to say that I learned as a child. My parents were very good at, helping us set boundaries and not allow anyone to do what we didn't want them to do. And another thing that I also wanted to share is that no one can make you feel inferior without your own consent. That's Eleanor Roosevelt. Mm-hmm. And that is, so people forget about that. If you're feeling negative or inferior, it's the thought in your head. Remember, it's always the thought in your head that is creating that feeling. No, if someone can act around you and trigger something that will make you feel that way, but it's still you.
It's still you,
right? It's still you.
100%.
And talking about ideas in being an entrepreneur, that you can be creative and that you can do things different. I have to say that it depends on the company, because when I worked for Bloomberg for 15 years, the culture of that company, you could come to Mike Bloomberg, his desk was open. I know Mike. We would just go to his desk and say, I have this idea. What do you think? He said, do you have a plan? And if you didn't, he would just literally show you off. Said, I do have a plan. He said, okay, so he's the person you're going to talk to. And if it works, you can do it, literally. But that's not every company. It's the culture of the company. That kind of thing, that kind of attitude, it's very, very, it's constant, I would say, when you're an entrepreneur, because it's you. You can do whatever you want. And for 2020, I used everyone says, think about one word for 2020. What would that word be? For me, the word is creativity. Every single human being had to be creative in that year, in every sense of the word. Because being creative is not painter and artist and whatever. It's not. It's someone doing things differently than they normally do. That's being
Making
creative.
shifts. Mm-hmm.
So being creative was my big word for 2020, and I guess for the majority of us.
I love that. TAMEKA, if you could leave any words of wisdom or encouragement for others who are on this journey or trying to decide, do I change careers? I'm afraid. Do I do it? Do I wait? I mean, sometimes like everybody's situation is different. It may not for everyone be, something they can dive right into. Maybe it's something where you save your resources over a period of time. And once you're financially in a position where, making that switch can happen, then maybe you do it then. Some people I know, like Coach Don had mentioned, and I think you had mentioned, like your job situation just changed and you had to figure it out like right then. It's everybody's situation is different, but what would you tell someone that's wondering, do I stay where I am? Do I look to grow? Like, what do I do? What would you want to leave them with?
Trust yourself and trust the process and know that everything is a process. Things do happen step by step, and it's okay. Timing is everything. And so don't look to the Joneses. Be your own Jones and focus. I guess it's a couple different things. Stop looking at people because people will throw you off. Focus on yourself, on your higher power, and that is what's going to direct you down the path that you need to go step by step.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that. Coach Don, what would you like to leave everyone with?
I would like to leave everyone with, similar to what TAMEKA said, everything that you need to know is well within you. It's your vision and your dream for a reason. So we have to stop expecting others to see what we see and feel what we feel. In our divine timing, it's for all of us to move authentically with what we know. We have to let go of baggage to be able to heal, to have that level of clarity. And that clarity comes in your stillness. It comes when you're not busy and running and doing and grinding and hustling. It actually comes when in those quiet moments. That's why COVID, for many people, they were able to make certain shifts, and then others weren't able to do the same because they didn't adapt well to that time of being alone. But that alone time, that quiet time, that stillness is where you find the clarity of your own answers. Trust in yourself, trust in what you know, take the time to go inward. If you're not on a healing journey, if you're not doing your inner work, getting your hair done and your toes done and shopping and all those beauty things to beautify outside are extremely important. TAMEKA, I need my lipstick. Don't worry. Yes, I need those things.
I got you.
But really at the end of the day is what are we doing to our insides? That self-love, that forgiveness, all of those things contribute to our inner knowing and our healing. So I want everyone to stop, pause, go inward, get someone that can support you, not tell you what to do, but guide you and to support you on this journey to being your better self. It's not about being anyone else. So stop looking outside of self for your answers to your why in your healing. Go inward.
I love that. Thank you so much, Coach Don. And Hillary, what would you like to leave folks with if they are, trying to decide if staying on the path I'm on, well, it's easier, but my heart is somewhere else. What do you say to those folks that are in that space?
What Coach Don said and what TAMEKA said. That's my answer. No, I think I really needed to hear some of these things myself because I'm kind of in a space where I'm like, do I stay, do I go, or what's my journey? But I think what TAMEKA also said is just trusting yourself and knowing that your journey doesn't have to make sense to anyone else. Stay in your lane. Stop comparing your journey to somebody else. I think we have in our head of, I'm this age, I should be at this spot in my life. And that's just not the way that the world works. So if you're kind of on the fence of like, should I stay or should I go? Trust yourself, figure out the fear later. Like, what's the worst that could happen?
I love that. Yeah, and you only live once. And I always say, I don't want to be that person that, I'm later in life and I'm looking back and I'm saying, oh, I wish I had fill in the blank. Like, I want to be in that space and be able to look back and say, I tried everything that I wanted to try. I did everything that I had hoped to do. And I'm not looking back at regret as if, there were all these things in life I could have done and I never tried. And it's scary sometimes to stay on the journeys that you're on, but just having that courage, even when the path isn't clear, but just following your heart, following what feels most like you, there can be some really beautiful rewards on the other side of that, be it, new friendships, new connections, a new circle of friends that push you forward, and grow the things that you're trying to grow. Fabiana, what would you like to leave everyone with, as folks listening are trying to figure out their what's next to you?
Yeah, so in the case of being in the corporate world, you can just want to change careers within that world, not necessarily become an entrepreneur. But in any case, I second, third, and fourth what the girl said about, believe in yourself. Comparison is the thief of joy. You are you. We are all unique. There's no one like you in this world. So your path is never going to be like anyone else. Someone might be ahead, but that doesn't mean you're behind. You're in your own path. But one thing that I believe, if you're in a corporate world, focus on, actually both cases, think about, who do I want to serve? That's number one. You need to, I guess we as human beings are fulfilled when we serve others. Even a corporation, you are serving people. So who would you like to serve? Once you figure that out, why do I want to serve them? That's the big why that everyone talks about. Why do I want to serve these people? And at the end of the day, the third one would be, how do I want to serve them? And if those three are not fulfilling you where you are, look within your company. Is it the culture? Is it the mission? Is it the industry? Try to understand in the corporate world what would get you to find that path for you. And if you're an entrepreneur, the who, why, and how is key. Before you figure out what you want to do and how you want to do it, who do you want to serve? That's number one. And then when you find your why, keep remembering that's your purpose. But at the end of the day, sometimes your why will not be in a corporate world, but you might need the corporate job to financially feed your why.
Then there's that, yes.
Oh, I love that.
Which is okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I love that. Thank you all so much for being a part of this conversation. I hope that all of you watching have been able to take something away from the individual journeys of everyone participating here today. The hope is that by sharing more stories, more experiences of individuals, that anyone watching, if you're stuck or you feel stuck or a piece of someone else's story resonates with yours, maybe you'll take something away from these conversations that pushes you forward in your own journey. So at the end of the day, it's people helping people. And I appreciate all of you sharing pieces of who you are to hopefully inspire and encourage someone else. Before we go, I'm going to tell you about some of the other conversations that are coming up. So next week, we're going to be doing life after pregnancy. So women will be talking about hair loss, building confidence, finding themselves again. I'm not pictured here because I have no kids, but I am offering my space and my platform to those who do, to share their stories and hopefully encourage and inspire others who are trying to find themselves after pregnancy, after giving birth, and they're trying to find themselves again. So we have Heather Brown. She is one of my coworkers, friends. anchor reporter, mother herself, Jessica Horton, certified life coach practitioner, life strategist, speaker, and mother as well. Liz Kruger, curator, connector, and mother. And then my friend Chantel, who is a certified trichologist, hair growth specialist, natural hair coach, hairstylist, and mother too. So they'll be a part of that conversation. Then we will be talking about It's Okay Not to Be Okay. That's going to be coming up on November the 12th. And really that conversation topic came out of the idea that sometimes you're going through things and people say, oh, just put a smile on and get by, or just put that aside, you'll be fine. But it's not really how you feel. And sometimes you have to acknowledge how you feel for what it is. Give yourself the grace and the time to process what that is and then move forward. And so we're going to have a conversation about It's Okay Not to Be Okay with Dr. Zakiya Robbins McNeil, Julie Montgomery Reese, Deborah Talon, and Lehman Riley. So I'm looking forward to that conversation as well. And then the last conversation we're having in November is going to be about crafting connections that count. So I'm bringing a whole bunch of folks on that are great at networking to talk about why that's important, how they craft connections, and hopefully we can learn something from their journeys, their experiences, to push us all forward as we build, grow, connect, and try to expand as well. So Jasmine Stringer, speaker, lifestyle expert, author, involved in that conversation with us. Javante Patton, Billboard recording artist, composer, producer, entrepreneur. Hilal Ibrahim, CEO and founder of Henna and Hijabs. Danielle Steer, founding executive director of Lunar Startups, will be joining us for that conversation too. So lots of great stuff coming up. Working on the December lineup as we speak. And I'm just so grateful that you all spent an hour with me on a Friday night. But I do definitely appreciate your time. I appreciate all the wisdom that you shared in your own personal journeys. And I'm so excited to welcome you into the Let's Chat family. And I hope you'll come back and join me again for some of the topics coming up into the new year. So at this time, if you all will hang on, we'll tell everyone bye and then just hang in the backstage area for a moment and we'll recap quickly. Thanks so much, everybody. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.